Welcome in, everybody. Coach Matthew Mitchell Show. Thank you for joining us. I am your host, Coach Matthew Mitchell, and we love it that you are here with us today. And you can find everything you need to know about what we do at CoachMatthewMitchell.com. We are speaking, we are coaching, we are workshopping, we are writing. And so we would love to come in and add value to your life and to your business. And that's what we're going to do today. We're going to add value to your life, and we're going to talk about something that I have learned in my leadership that plagued me for a long time in my leadership, and that is the pursuit of perfection. And I want to introduce a concept that I learned with you all this week, and it is trading the word "thee" for the word "my." Thee for my, and let me tell you how I learned this and what it all means. I took over the Kentucky women's basketball program in 2008, and we as the head coach. And the history of the program had been the opposite of the storied history of the men's basketball program. So they had played men's basketball for 100 years at Kentucky and had won, at that point in time, I believe, 8 national championships in men's basketball, numerous Final Fours, a ridiculous amount of Southeastern Conference championships. I think at the time when I arrived, it was somewhere around 43 or something just ridiculous. Had won the SEC tournament a bunch of times and were considered the gold standard in men's basketball. And when so women's basketball was not a sanctioned NCAA sport until 1982. For many decades, there was no NCAA women's basketball, and it started gaining popularity in the 70s through an organization called the AIAW, and right after Title IX passed in the early 1970s, where the government said and law was passed that opportunities had to be given athletically for women in proportion to the direct proportion, equal proportion as the opportunities were for men. And so that started women's athletics on a journey, but they were behind as far as participation and how and organization and things of that nature. And so our program history at Kentucky had not been nearly as long, and it had not been as successful. And so when I took over, I took over for my predecessor. Her name was Mickey DeMoss, who's an incredible mentor of mine and made so many things happen for me in my career. My career started in college basketball at University of Tennessee, and Mickey was one of the first people that noticed some potential in my coaching and in my abilities, and saw something and brought that to the attention of the legendary Coach Pat Summitt. And so Mickey really helped me on my path to becoming a college basketball coach. So she had done a great job in the 4 years prior to my getting the job of really elevating the program from the absolute bottom. When she arrived and I was her top assistant in 2003, Kentucky was in really virtually each year in last place in the years leading up to us being there. And so it was a tough situation we stepped into. I was her top assistant for 2 years, and then I left and went to be the head coach at Morehead State University, and Mickey continued on for 2 more years and really elevated the program, was able to get it to the NCAA tournament one year, and just did a great job of showing what was possible. So When I arrived, we were sort of in the middle of the pack, maybe a little bit better than that, maybe a little bit worse than that, but nothing that was of championship standard. And what I really wanted to do was try to elevate the program into a championship level program. And so first couple years didn't go all that great. But then in the third year, we hit our stride and started to elevate, and we started to get into that championship level of the Southeastern Conference. And in the NCAA, we started going to the NCAA tournament regularly in consecutive years, and eventually we won a Southeastern Conference championship. We went to 3 Elite Eights in 4 years, just one step away from the Final Four. And that's where I want to start the story of making the switch and switching out the word "the" and replacing that with "my." And so that's this story. So we had elevated the program to one of the top teams in the country. We were clearly one of the top teams in the country, and had just tremendous success. Won in 2012, won the SEC championship, regular season championship, the first time that had ever been done, where a Kentucky team had gone the entirety of a season and had won the championship. And in that year, we had a great team, and we got all the way to the Elite Eight, and we met up with the University of Connecticut. And we lost one game away from the Final Four. And so that was a tough blow, but knew that we had a good team and knew we had a good team coming back. So the next year, 2013, we had another great year. We missed out on the SEC championship by one game. We lost the SEC tournament championship game by just a few points, and so we were championship level. We run back through the NCAA tournament, back to the Elite Eight, and guess who is there waiting on us, and that is University of Connecticut. And so UConn was, during that time, the number one team in the country. Great coach, Gino Auriemma, who has now I've lost count of how many national championships he's won at Connecticut. I think it's 11. I think he eclipsed John Wooden on the men's side. I think he's won 11 now. But at that time, they won the national championship in 2012 and 13, and they were in a run of, I think it was 108 straight wins in a row. They just didn't lose for about 3 years or parts of 4 seasons maybe, and they were the best team in the country, and that was all I could think about was the University of Connecticut and trying to beat the University of Connecticut. And so as I started to move through the following years, my mind was trying to be the best and beat the University of Connecticut. And so I made a series of choices from a personnel point of view, staff point of view, and I really got obsessed with winning the national championship and being the best. What ended up happening in that process was making some bad decisions, violating some principles of being focused on the winning tools, honesty, hard work, and discipline, and not being dishonest or not being lazy or not being any of those things, but being undisciplined in my perspective of what success was. And so the lesson that then ended up 2014, went back to the Sweet 16, 2015, had a very good team, got upset in the second round from a hot team that was very good, University of Dayton, and we had a couple of really difficult plays in the second round that they eventually won that game. And 2016, back to the Sweet 16, thought we had a Final Four caliber team. Got upset by a 7 seed, University of Washington. They had a phenomenal game, and they ended up going on to the Final Four, one of those things that happens in the NCAA tournament. And I thought things were going well in the program, and I had made a personnel move with a coach that I thought could elevate us in recruiting. The other thing that was frustrating me with Connecticut is we were finishing, not only getting beat by them in the NCAA tournament, but we were finishing what felt like second on a lot of the great players in the country. We ended up attracting the same type of player, and I felt like I needed that type of player to get over the hump and beat Connecticut, and it got very frustrating because those players would be very interested in Kentucky, but ultimately would end up, it felt like this way at the time, going to Connecticut. So what I decided to do was, instead of bang my head against the wall of the behemoth of Connecticut, I wanted to shift and try to go outside the United States and become better at international recruiting and find the best players around the globe. And then I would have the talent I needed to beat Connecticut. Another flawed view of what I needed to do at the time. But this is where you learn the lesson when you make these mistakes. So the personnel I had at the time, I thought was going to be expert in international recruiting and finding international talent. And while that was true, what I ignored was a couple of times from people that I respected said, I'm not sure that's going to be a great fit for you. I'm not sure that personnel is going to be in alignment with what you want to do as a program and what you're about, and honesty, hard work, and discipline. And so I got so focused on being the best that I didn't use the winning tool of discipline to listen to people that I respected and who knew me. And instead, I had the idea that I could really manage any personnel situation. And one of the areas of where we can, when we become highly successful, where we become highly competent in what we're doing, one of the enemies that can creep in and that crept in for me is arrogance. And looking back, and I didn't feel this way at the time. But now looking back, I did not take that good advice from trusted people. And I had the arrogance to think that I could manage any type of situation. And so when we are in a personnel situation and you're not in alignment with the values of the organization, and you're hiring people and you're thinking that talent is going to elevate you and that talent can overcome your principles, I found that to be a bad choice and mistake for me. And so when I'm thinking about personnel now, I want to make sure that these people are in alignment. So that's just a little side tip for you as we are thinking this through, this concept of trading, replacing the word "the" for "my." All right? So that personnel decision did not work out well for me. We had tremendous upheaval in the program, to the point of it sort of was national news in the women's basketball community that it was an implosion almost at Kentucky. Players were leaving, recruiting commitments were being rescinded. It was just a real difficult atmosphere. And so what I learned out of all of that, and fortunately, we were able to stop the bleeding, and we were able to right the ship. And then the next 5 years, we went on and got the program back to one of the top programs in the country. But it was very painful, and it was very, very difficult. And when I look back on that time, I was chasing, as a professional, I was chasing perfection. And I wanted to be the best. And what I learned through that experience is that's very, very difficult. And what I learned that I could do much, much better instead of chasing perfection, of being the best, I started and continue to chase excellence. And when I am chasing excellence, now I'm thinking about being my best. And so I think that is a challenge that a lot of us feel and a lot of us struggle with, is this idea of being the best in our industry. And so I want to tell you a few things here about perfection and excellence. And when you use the word "the," that brings a lot of variables into the equation. Who is the best? So, as Connecticut was clearly the best in the world at that time, that I was trying to be the best, they were the best in winning games. But it caused me to lose perspective of what we were doing and how excellent we were. Connecticut's program, as I compared myself to them, that was a very poor comparison. Gino had been there for, at that point, probably 25 years, extremely established. In 2012 and 13, I had only been at Kentucky as the head coach for 4 and 5 years. And so what we were doing was remarkable. Where we had taken the program when we arrived to where we took it to that point in time, that was remarkable. But the cloud of that word "the," that blinded me to what we were actually accomplishing. You think right now in your industry, who's the best? Well, the best at what? There's a lot that you can't control when you start talking about being the best. Who's the best singer in the world right now? Well, the person who's having the most monetary success right now is Taylor Swift. Is she the best? Well, she's the best at making money and being popular, and so many people really like her. And good Lord, I know way more Taylor Swift songs than I want to know right now. I know them by heart because it is pumped into my brain day after day, morning after morning, driving my 7th grader and 5th grader, Sailor and Presley, to school. And I'll be quite honest with you. God bless Taylor Swift. I love her. I'm sure she's lovely. I've actually met her one time and gave her a jersey many years ago, and have so much respect for what she's been able to accomplish. But I've had enough. I've had enough of the music. I don't know that I can hear one more song. I hope a lot of Swifties aren't listening to the show right now, because that I probably shouldn't have said that. I probably don't need to alienate the Taylor Swift wing of the country out here right now, because that's vast, and that could lead to lots of podcast downloads if I am in alignment with Taylor Swift. I take all that back. I love Taylor Swift. She's fantastic. I can't get enough. I'm gonna in fact, when I get done recording, I'm gonna start listening to her music. So we'll let everyone know that. All right, but she's the best, but the best at what? So is she the best singer? Is she the best performer? What it is? There's a lot to discuss right there. So when there's a lot of variables, there's the opportunity for me to lose focus and get my eyes on things and my attention on things, and to dilute my effectiveness. But when I turn that word around and I replace "thee" with "my best," now my best comes into focus. And where perfection is over time, we know over time that we definitely can have some moments of where it just feels like everything goes perfect. In a basketball game, we run the play perfectly. Do we ever play perfectly for over 40 minutes? I don't ever remember that happening. So perfection over time feels very unattainable. But excellence, when I turn it around and I get focused on my best, what are my unique gifts? What is my competency? What can I actually get out here and do and be my best? That feels attainable. And that brings excellence, brings focus to our performance. So I'll leave you with this. Perfection in my world, when I chase that, I get paralyzed, and that paralysis happens because I am starting to look at every situation and every possibility, and that does not allow me to get focused and lasered in on what I can do. When I'm thinking perfection, I think a lot about what can go wrong, and that is paralyzing. But excellence, when I get it to excellence, performance, and I think about my best, I get focused on the possibilities of what needs to happen. And so excellence exhilarates me. When the notion of me being my best, I got up this morning and I was checking out someone who inspires me, and my perfection part of my brain personality kicked in, and I started to compare myself to this person who is really inspirational and has had so much success in coaching in the corporate world and speaking and all of the things that I now currently do. But that person's been doing it a very long time. And the perfection part of me started to compare myself to where they were. And that can be really paralyzing. That can be almost defeating to you. And I quickly had to get focused and turn it to, today is the day that I have in front of me. And I had a very important meeting this morning, and I was able to shift to, I'm not going to try to be the best today. I'm going to be my best, and I'm going to put my efforts all into being excellent today. And now I was exhilarated, and I started thinking about this meeting and what I could do to move the needle in my business and how I could also serve that person. And now I was exhilarated. I went to the meeting thinking about being my best. I put my best foot forward. It was a phenomenal meeting. So many possibilities and opportunities came out of the meeting. And so the energy I was able to go there and give that person that I was there to serve, that was all because I was exhilarated by the thought of being excellent and doing the very best that I could do. And that's my best. And I didn't have the thought of being the best. And so I hope that is encouraging to you and gives you something to think about. And what we want to do every time is we want to serve you well with content that makes you think and lets you really contemplate how the winning tools can come into your life: honesty, hard work, discipline. And we just want to be on this journey with you on the Coach Matthew Mitchell Show each and every time you come here. So I hope you had some fun today. I hope you were able to have your leadership strengthened. And if you want to find out what we're doing, CoachMatthewMitchell.com is where you can find us. We are speaking, we are coaching, we are delivering great content for your business in workshops, we're writing books, and we are just having a ball doing all of it. So, and we're podcasting. We're podcasting the Coach Matthew Mitchell Show. That's what we're doing right here. So come back to see us the next time. I hope this has been beneficial for you. We want to serve you well. Hope you have a great day and a great rest of your week and whatever you're doing. And remember, just wake up every day and think about doing my best, and you're going to make things happen.